Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I have been pumped for this. We have known each other. How many years have we known each other?
I want to say 15. I don't know if it's...
Somewhere in there. At different points.
Yeah,
we've talked. I'm Doug Hall. I'm here with Dean Schroeder, who is the author. Well, actually, you can see it even bigger up behind us here. This is the biggest book we've had for a while. The Idea-Driven Organization, and has been an inspiration to me with regards to our work on collaboration, because we know that when it comes to creating ideas, you know, the meaningfully unique ideas come from stimulus. You got to fuel the brain, but there's an exponential kick from diversity. The diversity, literally, when we model it, is an exponential kick. And that's our potential to the level that we drive out fear. And so the power of diversity is something that is embedded in me, and it is a core belief. And you are the expert at being able to do that. Now, I've got a comment here from somebody that they're having troubles with the screen, and what I want to tell you is if you log out and log back in again, you should be able to get it. Sometimes there's a problem with GoToWebinar that you might be having. And so if you just log back in, and I don't know what that is, if I could just confirm from some people that you are seeing, okay, they got it now, good. Okay, just wanted to help you. These are the quirks that we do as we're going through it. And I just wanted to read just a quick sure. opening here, Dean, if you don't mind, right from the start of the book. And as you can see, I've been through it. And nothing worse than writing books and talking to people who haven't read them. He said, after years of being asked to do more with less, managers are increasingly aware that they cannot produce the results they are expected of them with the organization they currently have and the methods they currently use. Cutting wages, perks, benefits, and pushing people to work harder can only go so far. A different approach is needed. Interestingly, the best solution involves the very people that have been bearing the brunt of the cost so far, ordinary employees. And as we will explain, some 80% of an organization's potential for improvement lies in frontline ideas.
That's right, Doug. You know, we didn't even believe that number when we first came up with it, when we first encountered it. As a matter of fact, if you don't mind, I'll tell you a little story on that. It was kind of funny because we figured, you know, we were big believers in this. We'd been working in the area for a while. We figured maybe half of a company's potential was in this. And we ran across a company. As a matter of fact, the company was Dana and Cape Girardeau, part of the Baldrige winning team company, actually, after we had been there. Not that we had anything to do with that, but the manager said that 80% of his improvement came from the front line. And we thought, well, he's being nice, he's being generous. But it got us thinking because we'd never measured it. And we don't even want to measure it because we want that just to be part of what everyone is doing. But we started every time we got a chance, and we've done it in the military, at a military base. We've done it in government. We've done it in finance. We've done it in manufacturing, in 5 or 6 different countries. And it always seems to be consistent, this 80-20 rule, 80% of the improvement potential. And you know, that's a surprise because management's supposed to have all the brains, right?
Yeah.
And they're supposed to know what's doing. But the interesting thing is, management is the guys on the front lines are the ones that are there dealing with customers, listening to the complaints, struggling with the systems, trying to make things work. And so one of our overarching themes in Idea Driven is top directed, because the guys at the top see the big stuff, see what's going on. Bottom driven, because the people at the bottom are in the best position to figure out how to get there, which of course means we have to have those blue cards.
The blue cards, yes, we were talking about that. It is spooky. It is absolutely spooky. Well, actually it's not, because we've known each other for a long time. We've had lots of conversations, and so you've influenced me greatly as I go through this. But the connections between what we're doing in the innovation engineering community and what you're talking about is just amazing. And that frontline work, I spent time with Bill Conway, who brought Deming back to National Corporation, and the thing that struck me, one of the big things he said is management needs to get close to the work.
Yes.
Is that they've lost touch with that reality. And you really bring that to life. But I want to show a couple of some statistics here. I'm going to go to the slides here now for a minute. And you'll see the collaboration challenge. This is about 12,000 people that we measured, and 9 out of 10, to be specific, 95%, don't cooperate well. Only 5% say that they cooperate well as an organization, which is just horrific. And as we look at this, you're saying that the impacts are based on source of idea, where the ideas come from. And for those folks who are innovation engineering folks, I'm going to talk to you about core and leap. We're going to talk to you about that and how this fits into that. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But top down, 20% of the ideas, and you show it over and over and over again in the book about the fact that the ideas that come from their top teams will be 20%, 80% from the front lines. Just amazing numbers. And when we talk about the challenges, we talked a little bit before we went on, that the challenges include fear, that I'm going to get in trouble if I collaborate or whatever levels. The ego, lack of alignment on what is very important, and don't know how to collaborate, who and what. So what I'd like to do right now is I would like to go to a poll and ask the audience out there, what is the biggest barrier to collaboration that you see? And then we'll come back and talk about it. Okay? You can't see the results, but I can. What's your guess on this? Is what we're talking about. What are you thinking that it might be?
Oh boy,
Those are tough ones because they're all.
Yeah, I suspect my personal feeling is there's an interaction effect among a number of them. But what does our audience say?
The audience says lack of alignment.
Lack of alignment. It does not surprise me. There's an interesting thing we're finding, Doug.
Wait a minute. Fear, ego, all the things you'd say, and a lack of alignment on what's important from the
management.
Management.
Hey, it's management's fault.
Look at that.
That, good catch. I didn't catch that. That is, well, look at it even further, between not knowing, which is also management, not training them, between those two, we're at what, 60%?
60%.
So 60% of the lack of collaboration can be directly attributed to management?
60% has to do not with the person, but with the leadership.
Throw in fear, which
From
can be
management.
controlled from management, because that's what you're afraid of. And all of a sudden, we're 2/3, 1/3, or 3/4, 1/4. Only 1/4 is the ego.
I would not have guessed that.
No.
This is one that I would have thought that fear and ego would have been much higher, double
Yeah.
it would have been that.
Yeah. No, that's fun. So someone said that, a fan of a person you're a fan of said something about it's management's fault.
It did. And in your book, I mean, one of the things that you talk about is the fact that it is very important, and we were talking about that before. It is very, very important that the workers know where to do. And you said suggestion boxes. One of the problems with suggestion boxes is this, right? You get them all over the place.
Yeah, you get them all over the place. They're not focused on what's important. They don't have that alignment. It's the blue card issue, actually. You can think of it as that. They don't know what's important and what's not. One of the examples of that is we were dealing with a CEO about ideas, and he hated employee ideas. It's because just a week before, he had to adjudicate on an idea that came up that said we need 5 different types of peanut butter in our canteen. And I'm looking at that and thinking, there's something wrong with the system, because first, he shouldn't have to be deciding that. And the other thing is, I didn't know there were 5 types of peanut butter. Did you, Doug? I mean, there's chunky and there's creamy. There's organic chunky and organic creamy. I'm trying to figure out the 5th. Is that the stuff with the jelly mixed in it, or what?
So talk to me about suggestion boxes, because the minute we say collaboration, the obvious thing is those boxes.
Oh man, they've been around
challenge
for hundreds and hundreds of years. As a matter of fact, we've got examples back to the 11th century on the island of Man.
Okay.
So suggestion boxes, there's nothing new about them. But think about what a suggestion says. You put it in the box, and then it goes to some management team, somebody's got to figure out who to hand it off to, and there's that. But the point is, before it even goes in the box, it hasn't been vetted. One of the fun slides that you showed me earlier today was one of your ideas that you had 5 different people comment on it and rip it apart and build on it. Well, the point is, you just put it in the box, you don't have the advantage of that interaction and that dialogue. And so it's not as good an idea.
So they're missing the suggestion box is this static thought that is not directed towards a purpose.
It's not aimed at what's important. It hasn't been discussed, vetted, tweaked. Then the decision is being made by somebody who is not close to the problem. Removed from it. We've got examples of where the decisions are being made 1,000 miles away by somebody at a different level of the organization and doesn't know what's going on. And then there's a whole other element is a lot of times when you get a suggestion box, it's like you're giving up that idea. You don't have the ownership for that idea anymore.
So these don't work?
No, the suggestion boxes don't, even in their electronic form.
Oh, okay, so you jumped ahead of it here. So even the electronic ones, because they're the rage right now. Oh,
they are. They are. You go online, for example, or you look at what some, not your organization, but what some high-powered consulting companies are selling as innovation systems, and they're electronic suggestion boxes. And suggestion boxes really don't work that well, and all you're doing is electronic. Yeah, so you're making tracking where ideas came from and stuff like that easier, but it's still lacking those fundamental elements.
So, and how does the worker feel in this process?
Well, the worker oftentimes feels like it's going in a black box. Let's see. Think about yourselves. Think about us. What do you like? You got an idea. What do you want to do? You want feedback. You want dialogue. You want that almost immediately. And all of a sudden, it goes into that box and it disappears, and you don't know what happens to it. All right, you may or may not get a feedback in a good system, but even then the feedback isn't two-way. It doesn't have a rich dialogue. It doesn't, well, you know, that's an interesting idea. Let's take for example, a bad idea. Bad ideas are great. You guys have heard there's no such thing as a bad idea?
Yeah.
I want to say bullshit.
Yeah.
Bullshit. There are bad ideas. They're illegal, they're immoral, they're just terrible ideas. But the point is, it still has value. What happens if you come up with a bad idea? Or if an employee comes up with a bad idea? Well, the point is that person's thinking, they're trying to solve some sort of problem. So instead of saying, that's a terrible idea, and beat him down, you go to him and say, Doug, it's an interesting idea. What made you think of that? And chances are you're going to lay out some real important problem that you identified, but you just had a bad solution.
So if somebody's got an idea that's bad, there will be something behind it, though.
Yeah.
That maybe they didn't solve it right, but there's an issue that caused them to have the motivation to do that. So let me take you another direction. So now, if I'm saying this, some of the people out there might be saying, okay, that's good, but I got the solution for this. It's very simple. We just need to have a competition, and we need to give them an incentive. They don't have the financial reward. The system is what's in it for me, and people are greedy. And so if you want to get them to do more ideas, you just have to put money on the table.
We'll give them 10% of the value of that idea. Therefore, the bigger the idea, they'll get more. Okay. Makes sense, right?
Right. So that should work great.
Disaster.
Why?
Absolute disaster for a lot of reasons. But the first thing is, gosh, where do I start on this one? This is fun. Let me give you an example, first of all. We did a lot of work in Sweden.
Okay.
And still do a lot of work in Sweden. Sweden had a system where they gave 50% of the first year's savings to the employee.
50%?
50%. It was a national level system.
Okay.
I would think you'd get all kinds of ideas.
Gonna be all over this.
Oh yeah. Well, let me give you a couple of examples of some of the disasters that came out of it. In the equivalent of a, I'm doing my ahs and ums. My wife's going to get mad at me on that one.
That's okay.
In the company that handles cell phone, and a cell phone provider.
Yeah.
Okay? Not the phones, but the service.
Right.
One of their frontline people came up with an idea that saved them $46 million.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. You'd think the CEO would be happy about that.
That's right.
But he had to write if he had accepted that, and it was an obvious idea, it was clearly there, but if he'd accepted it, which he should have done, he'd had to write a $23 million check to that technician. Who do you think would have found out about that $23 million check? Well, the board of directors, of course, but probably everyone across Europe.
Yeah.
How would that have made the CEO look?
Yeah.
And he's sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, it's going to make me look foolish. So that idea was never accepted. So they went by losing that. In another situation, because so when you have large amounts of money involved, management is tempted to behave badly. In another situation,
so whether it's picking the right idea, the wrong idea,
and the other thing,
and I've also, my understanding is what happens is that when we put down these rules, people game it.
Always,
Get it.
always.
And so the goal, the intrinsic motivation, which all of the research shows, is that intrinsic innovation's hard. You have to change things, and in order to be able to make your way through making this difficult thing happen, you have to have intrinsic motivation, or else you're not going to keep going.
Right.
You're going to give up.
And the extrinsic drives out the intrinsic. So if you give that extrinsic reward, you lose a lot of the intrinsic. Why? What's the number one reason? Guess what the number one reason people give ideas are?
No.
Or is? To make their job easier.
To make life better.
To make their life better. Now, do we want our employees' lives being better? Chances are making their job easier will make it more productive. There's almost a one-for-one correlation there. More productive, faster, better. Number two reason comes in at they want to contribute. They want to be a team member. Number three reason comes in they want recognition. Whose recognition do you think is the most important? Not management. They want the recognition of their peers as a contributor. Nowhere in the top 4 or 5 is the reward.
Okay.
So if you want to give and reinforce those reasons, what do? You make it simple, easy to implement their ideas, get them implemented fast and without a lot of fuss. That's the best reward you can have.
So you've set this up that there's levels of ideas, and to use the language of innovation engineering, we separate ideas into leap and core ideas. And I'll bring this up just so that, because I know we've got some people here who've not seen this before, but just so that I can give you some clarity on this thing pretty easily. We've defined that there's 2 types of ideas. There are core innovations that keep us competitive, those continuous improvement things. And then there are those leap ideas that create the future, the new trajectory.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And we know when we graph purchase versus new and different, we get a cone-shaped distribution, such that the more new and different we get, the more likely the idea is, as we say in Maine, to be wicked good or wicked bad as we go out there. And so leap projects are these ones that are out here. And we use cycles, plan, do, study, X cycles, to determine between the good ones and the bad ones. Core projects are in here. And from our discussions and from reading your book, to me, there's another group of ideas here that we've been talking about over the last month, which are ideas. They're not projects.
Right.
They're just ways to get started. They're ways to get started as we're doing this stuff. And so these are those things that people are frustrated. It's just not working. Whether it's in a system for how we do new products, whether it's in a finance department, whether it's on the shop floor.
Right.
And so it's those ideas, and people say, so are you talking like micro ideas? No, because some of these ideas, you're saying, aren't just small, but some of them are the seeds that can actually become leap. Talk
Absolutely.
about that.
Okay. It's where do ideas come from, and we've always had trouble figuring out what's a big idea and what's a little idea, because sometimes a little idea can have a huge impact, and certainly lots of little ideas can have a big impact. But at the same time, sometimes you have a big problem, and you can start working on it through little just do it ideas, and then what you learn from that lets you do some of the leaps.
It enables it.
It enables it because it's like training wheels. It gets you thinking about that, gets you looking at that, it gets you playing with these just do it, simple, straightforward, don't need a lot of permission or money to do. So it lets you sort of learn. It's a cheap education. And then you got the leap ideas. Then it goes the other way. For example, one of my favorite examples is actually Art Fry's Post-it note.
Right?
I had the opportunity when I was with the American Creativity Association to listen to Art Fry, and listen to his talk. You could tell there were a lot of small ideas there that made it. He had the aha big idea, but it really was made up of a lot of small ideas. And if you've ever taken a generic Post-it note and taken it and stuck somewhere, it doesn't stick once you move it, because all the stickiness is left behind on the pad, and it doesn't happen so much with 3M. So in talking to Art, he says, well, the reason is we had hundreds of ideas from our lab technicians, from frontline manufacturing people, from marketing, from all these other sources that helped us keep the stickiness. And that's why, I don't know what it's been, 30, 40 years after Art Fry's original idea, it's still owned by 3M. 3M still owns that space.
Well, and it's interesting, in the last month, I've been talking to different clients, and one of the things that I've heard 3 times, and it struck me because I was with senior people, is they said, I was there talking to them, they said, we need to learn how to win again. We need to learn how to win. We've lost the ability to win. I think, geez, man, that's terrible. But what you're laying out is a process that even before we get to core projects, and so the difference is, just so that everybody understands, the difference is that if I'm looking at those ideas that are those core ideas, the ones that just do, these are going to tend to be, don't have to be, but in general, they're going to be within a department or within a silo, within a group, okay? When we start to move to core projects and leap projects, we're going to be doing things that are either going to require time, energy, money, or they're going to be going across silos and they're going horizontal across the organization. Is that a fair?
Very fair.
So those core ideas could be a way for a company that wants to start. This could be the way for them to be able to get started.
Yeah, there's actually even...
To build their courage and their confidence.
Yeah.
That they can do, they're huddled masses. They don't even know how to start.
Well, if somebody every day, as part of their regular job, is expected to come up with ideas to do their job better, to handle problems, don't complain about them, be sensitive about them,
No whining.
or complain. Well, complain about them, but not complain, but point them out so that something can be done with them. That's the critical thing.
So wait. Let's go back to something here, though. You just sparked something. You said every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Okay, how many ideas would be good and how many would be great per employee?
Well, that's always a question we get asked. And we have companies that, one of the companies we studied down in Brazil, and we keep going back there because it's such a fascinating company, implements 150 ideas per person per year. Implements, that's three a week per person.
3 a week per person.
3 a week per person. Generally, in most situations, we say if a company is implementing 1 idea per person per month, that's a pretty good pace.
1 per person per month.
1 per person per month is sort of where we begin calling
That's
a company.
Wheels. That's
yeah,
hard.
yeah. I mean, come on. Which one of your frontline employees or any of your employees shouldn't come up with 1 good idea, just something small, per month and get it implemented? If you can't do that, you're in trouble.
Are you awake?
Yeah. And you see, there's the difference. You see the suggestion box. You know the numbers on suggestion boxes.
No.
And it's been steady over 100 years, is you get about, well-run system, not a superb, not Germans. They can get more out of them. I swear. Leave it to the Germans. But in a normal North American idea system, if you get 0.3 ideas per person per year with a 1/4 implementation rate, with a 25% implementation rate, you're doing well.
So
and
we're talking of an idea per person per year, and 1/4 of those
right.
happening.
So in other words,
like none.
Yeah, so you do the math, and what do you get?
Nothing.
Yeah, practically. Practically.
Less than a tenth of a
But what we're talking about are systems, and all of this translates into being able to improve faster than your competitors, being able to innovate faster than your competitors.
How can you go quicker?
How can you improve faster? And that's the whole secret. We haven't set up our systems, just like innovation engineering, the whole concept behind innovation engineering versus the old command and control. I mean, I was taught command and control in my early education. You know, management figures out what they want to do, you know, the old Phaolian principles, they organize it, they control it, they train the person to do it, and then they make sure they do it. What we're talking about here, and what innovation engineering is talking about is, hey, the critical currency in the organization is innovation and improvement.
Well, and we were talking just before we came on, you were talking about this is really part of this transition from the industrial age to the information age.
Yeah, absolutely. If you look at the industrial age, moving from the agricultural age, and where work was done by an individual in his shop, maybe had an apprentice, but it was all based on the skills of the individual and the training of the individual. Then when we moved into the capitalistic society of the industrial age, we had to change work to fit the needs of the equipment we were using because of the massive increase in productivity from that. Now all of a sudden we're looking at it, and you look at your iPhone, your smartphone, and you've got your access to the world there, all the information you need. And so technology has shifted. So we have what's called liberation technology, which is this smart technology that all of a sudden people can own again. The capital, the big capital, you had to, you know, economies of scale. Now what are we talking about? We're talking about leveraging, come on, the word's slipping my mind, scalability.
Yeah.
Scalability. What is scalability? Scalability has nothing to do with capital. That's the whole point of it. It's just your software. You know, how fast can it get out there? And you can go from 1 to 1 million overnight because it doesn't have that marginal scale. That's part of this information age. We're dealing with minds instead of capital, creativity and ideas.
But I'd like,
Yep.
any last words to say, because we're running up about the top of the hour. Any last words or things to tell the folks, the community out there?
All I can say is the world is driven by ideas, and everyone's ideas, and we have to manage for those ideas, particularly those people on the front lines.
The Idea-Driven Organization, you can see it up here. I've got one here. Awesome book. Thank you very much
Thank
for your
you.
time. And you'll be hearing more as we collaborate and find more ways
sure hope so, Doug.
to do it. And I know you've already spoken to some of our clients. You gave a presentation.
Yes, thank you very much.
And so we're going to engage and collaborate. And this is one of those, when we talk about collaboration, folks, this is one of those kind of partnerships is what we're talking about.
We got to show them the way.
That's right. We got to walk the talk. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you very much.